Hi, welcome to Books of Yarn. My name is Anna, and on my lap to my right, the flowers here, these bookmarks are everything that I crocheted this year, which I had hoped would be a lot more, but unfortunately is not a lot. So we're gonna start with these. I have a bin that I normally keep these in because these are scrunches I made for my business, which I started back in November. There is a stand here with some stuff about my business, but if you're interested in purchasing any of these, I'll leave the link to my store here. It will also be down in the description box below, but these are just scrunches. I also did make five. I have one for myself, one for my mom's friend, and I have these three. Now, I recently decided to add these to my business. Originally, it was just going to be hats because I have this obsessive love for hats, and then I love having stuffs on my keychain. So, I love this. I made some in black, which I might end up stealing. Also made this. This was from yarns I had left over. So it is gray and gray. Beautiful. This is from a nice cotton yarn that I used to make my bookmarks, the one right here, along with one that I normally use to read. Now these are smaller ones, for our little girls. Bigger size for adults or big girls. I love this. This is like a checkered design that I made, which I might steal. And this is just half gray, half purple, which I use from yarns I have left over. And this is just purple. Now, these right here are hats that I made primarily for my business, which most of these are made within the last 2 months of the year, which is surprising because I would have thought that I would have made a lot more. Going into this year, I wanted to make a lot more projects, especially for myself, because there's just something special about handmade stuff for yourself. But then a lot happened. I got really sick at the beginning of the year. Throughout the year, I was really sick on and off. And then I did travel to Colombia. Also did went to Mexico. I also moved. So there was a lot that happened throughout the year. And the bulk of these were not made until I decided that I want to commit myself to have a crochet business. So this is just a purple beanie. I'm gonna take down a pile of these because I don't want anything to file. This is just a bandana that I made for my business using 100% cotton yarn. Now, I really did love the pattern. This is from Peaches of Cream yarn, which I really loved. Also, bandana. This is gray and black. This is acrylic yarn. This is my very first bucket hat that I made. I actually did make this while I was in Mexico back in September. Really loved it. This is the first time I recall working with cotton yarn. And if you've worked with yarn, if I stop, it's because when you work with yarn, sometimes the yarn fiber attracts other yarn fiber. So this is the first time I've worked with cotton yarn, and I made this beautiful bucket hat because I really do love bucket hats. Um, this is a beanie that I made. There is this pattern. There's this pattern that I fell in love with, which is when you basically crochet to you it's like double crochet together, half double crochet together. So that's that pattern that you see right here. And this is just regular half double crochet, and this is front post, back post, which is since when I first learned how to do this, I was a little bit intimidated because I kept thinking that I was doing it wrong or I wasn't getting it right. So I kind of shied away from patterns that included this. But once I got the gist, this is like the number line pattern for almost all of my beanies now. I really loved it. This is a striped bucket hat. This is the first time I've made a bucket hat like this, and I do love how the colors came along. So these are, I made a bucket hat like this for myself back in January for my birthday, but the colors weren't like this, and so I wanted to somewhat replicate it without replicating it 100%. And mine does not have the front post, back post double crochet like this one, because at the time that I made mine, I was still intimidated by the front post, back post double crochet. So this is a green beanie. As you can see, my signature front post, back post. Another, that's green. I said gray. That's green. This is cream and gray. Now, this yarn, the texture, it doesn't feel the way it looks. It's hard to describe, but the texture of this gray yarn, I really loved working with it. And that's why it's sometimes important to to kind of remember the brand along with the color yarn, because after working with this, I wanted to see if I could get more because I really love the texture. Unfortunately, I couldn't. Another scrunchie. This is a beanie. This is supposed to have a pom-pom on top of it. I Something happened, no pom-pom. Now this is the first time. This stitch is a treble crochet. Normally I don't do treble crochet because I don't normally like the way it looks, but this beanie did turn out good, I would say. Now this is the second time I made a hat with this pattern, but it's the first time I made it with this. This is houndstooth. I was doing a little bit of experimenting, and if I say this did turn out a lot better than I expected. Now, a few of the hats, some of them I don't have pictures for because I did sell a few of the hats that I made. And the next batch, this is a bandana that I made in the form of a shawl like pattern. Another one of my famous beanies, but I made this with a line, for the top, similar like how you'd make a bucket hat. So this is another yarn that I loved working with. Once again, I really do next year need to start like writing down the yarns for the project, so once I fall in love with a yarn, I could go back and get it to make more projects with. Now, this, I've never made a hat like this. This is a one of a kind. I call it a cone beanie because of the nice cone shape, and this is 100% cotton, which I really enjoyed working with, to be completely honest. This is a bucket hat I made, yellow bucket hat that I made. It's a pale yellow color. Loved it. This is a little bit different. This is a bucket hat, but if you can see the pattern at the top, that I achieved that by going in between the two posts instead of working on top through the V's, and that's how I got this pattern that you're seeing. So And I did that alternatively throughout the entire project, which is how you got this kind of design at the top. Something that I really loved and something that I think I want to work on more of. To I know this pattern is very nice for scarf. I'm going to show you a scarf later down. It's at the bottom of the pile that I use this pattern for, and it turned out really, really well. So I do want to work on this pattern more. I'm not taking claims for any of these patterns, but the bulk of these hats, I did not like buy any pattern from anyone, did not watch anyone. I'm just making stuff, and the designs and creations came to me, so I work with it. This is another beanie that, if I'm not mistaken, is supposed to have a pom-pom. My famous front post, back post double crochet that I love. Didn't get to add the pom-pom to it. This is a bucket hat that I worked on with the fringe. I'm really getting to love how these are coming along. And what I've noticed is how the fringe turns out, it has a lot to do with the type of hook that you use along with the type of yarn. Like the more thinner the yarn, the more soft or the more loose or less fringy the hat turns out, and the more thicker the yarn, the more the more fringe you have basically. Now we're gonna work with the next. This is just a plain red bucket hat. Most of these are experiments. Normally when I do my bucket hats, I normally like to have like the line so you know where it stops on the top of your head. But I'm currently working on eliminating that because it's not always flawless or seamless is the word I'm looking for. So I'm trying to work on eliminating those. So I do have a few projects that I work on without it, because without the line it gives you that round bucket hat look, and that's what I'm going for sometimes. Now this is my first granny stitch bucket hat, or yeah, my first granny stitch bucket hat, and I really loved working with this. Although I did watch someone to learn this, I have been doing some experimenting because the way how I learned the stitch, um, there are no flaws in the person's pattern. The way like to make my hat, it's not patterns that I would like, I would, I'm trying to find the best words to say it now. There was I like to make my hat, and I love the patterns, and I'm glad that there are YouTubers out there like myself who do like to teach these patterns. But the way how I like my hats to look, or the way how I like my hats, I've been doing some experimenting, because the thing about crochet is, as a crocheter, you want patterns that are with your style or with the way that you like to make things. And how I've learned the pattern is not the way I would have done it per se. And so I'm not taking away anything from the persons that I've learned from. I really do appreciate them for putting the video out there. But how I normally do my hats, or the signature that I'm going for, there those pattern, the overall pattern would not work. So experimenting. Another beautiful bandana. This is from my 100% cotton yarn. I think it's Lion brand, and this is I have this left over from the pale bucket hat and beanie that it's a pale yellow from the beanie that I did, and this is one of my signature beanie hats. And my next pile, so this is a hat that I made recently. I've not finished weaving in the ends as yet, because sometimes I like to do those in bulks. And this is a pattern that I am working on. If you notice the lines and those holes, so it has some flaws, so I am definitely working on it. This is not something that I'm gonna sell. I'm gonna actually take this hat for myself, but this is a pattern that I recently started that I'm working on, that I want to perfect, so I can add that to as hats that I sell for my crochet business. Now, this is the pattern that I've been talking about. This is a scarf that I made for my daughter, which turns out beautifully, if I might add. This is the first scarf that I made, and this is for myself. So these are the houndstooth stitch, which is very ragged and have that textured feeling, but it's not as defined, or it's not something you can see because it's a solid color, but you notice you could see it here. And right here for my neck, I did add just basic double crochets because I didn't want the textured on my neck. Now, I went on a beach trip or beach outing back in February, and I made this nice frill skirt to go over my swimwear. This is the swimwear, and this is the top that goes with it. It's like a star that I made, and looking back now, it's two stars. Let me detach them so you can get a better look at them individually. Alright, so this this goes around, this is the part that ties at your neck with the other side. You tie this like right here, and this ties at the back. Now, looking back at this pattern, which I came up with, I'm so pissed at myself because I don't think I could ever redo this, because to be honest, I was just going through my creative mood, and I have no idea how I did that. Now, this is a bralette that I started and I have not finished it. I started this before I went to Colombia. Really love the colors. As someone who loves wearing only black, all of when I do projects, I like when they have colors. So I really did love how these came about, and for spring or for summer coming, I will be making some of these, possibly for my store. Now, this is a hat that I made for a suit that I worked on in October. So this is the hat, and since I've washed it and it's gone in the dryer, it is really soft. This is a bag that I made. It's a little bit stained now, and I never got to weave in the ends. But this is a bag that I made back in January for my birthday. This is my first and the only bag I managed to make this year, which I wanted to make more of. While I might not sell it per se on my store, if I do decide to go to craft markets, I'd love to have like little bags, especially during the summertime, that I could have sold. Now, this is the pants for the suit that goes with the hat that I've shown you. And since I've washed it, it is feeling a lot more softer and loungy. So this is it. I really do hope you could see it. This is the foot of the pants, really colorful. This is the other side. The ways I use my favorites now stitch the front post, back post to have that made. This is the top that goes with the suit. I made this in the panel. Normally I don't like making my sweaters panel like, but I did make this, and it's like it's a vest panel pattern that I used to make this. Yeah, for a minute. Yeah. And then after I made the panel, I made the sleeves. Then I made the other sleeve, which is a front post, back post. I also made the neck, which is front post, back post, and It's a kind of a belly skin. It's short at the front and it's a little bit longer at the back. If you could see, there's that curve, and then you see the back is a lot longer. Now I did make this beautiful sweater for my daughter when I was in Mexico. This is my first hexagon um, cardigan, and I had hoped to make a lot more of these this year. However, I didn't. So that's possibly one of my goals for next year. And the last thing I made this year is this beautiful brown raglan sweater, which I altered the pattern to more suit myself because I didn't like there would have been some larger looking holes. If you've made a raglan sweater, you do know what I'm talking about. If not, I do apologize. There are some holes that are right here. That would be right here. But I didn't like how big the holes were, so I altered the pattern to make mine a lot smaller than they normally are. And so this is everything I made minus one thing. I'm going to go and get it and then I'll show it to you. And then I think we'll wrap this up. Now this is the last thing I made this year. Now I used a 10mm hook to make this. Now I'm not sure if it's because of how coarse the yarn was. I did not enjoy working with this yarn or working with a 10mm hook. Now if you crochet, feel free to correct me or feel free to add, do you enjoy working with yarn above an 8? And if you do, what type of material do you normally use? Is it like coarse yarn, or is it like yarn that's a lot on the softer side? Because I definitely did not enjoy making this, and I was hoping that by the, and it's a little thick when I wear it because I actually made it for myself. So I'm hoping that once I get it in the wash, it will soften out. If not, I don't know what I'm going to do. But that's everything I made this year. Hopefully I make a lot more next year. And thanks for watching. If you do crochet, I would love to hear how many projects you've worked on and what was your favorite thing. What was the thing you most enjoyed working on? Have you worked on large projects, small projects? I just would love to hear what you've made this year. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, I'm making this today is the 31st, so I hope you had a wonderful 2023 and I wish you all the best in 2024. Have a wonderful day, month, week, second, minute, time. I do hope you just enjoyed the rest of this year, and thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay fit, and I do hope I see you in my next video.